Hello everyone, my name is Alisé of knowthyselfandheal.com. Thank you for joining me. Today, as I make this video, it's January 10th of 2023, and we have an interesting couple of days ahead of us, so I wanted to make a video for you so you can be watching what's happening in your world and in your life and make some use of these really potent energies. So today, on January 10th, Mercury retrograde is square Chiron in Aries. And Mercury is in Capricorn. It's at 12 degrees. It's conjunct the south node of Jupiter. So this is interesting because Mercury and Jupiter have a particularly special relationship because Mercury is the ruler or planetary guide of Gemini, whereas Jupiter is the ruler or planetary guide of Sagittarius and Pisces. Mercury is also the planetary guide to Virgo. So you can see how Mercury and Jupiter really play important functions in our own consciousness because they really do have to do with how we perceive and communicate information, and also how that information is then translated into our belief systems, which is the Jupiter. So Mercury is related to the nervous system. So you can imagine, what does the nervous system do in the body? It really just passes information. And so this is what this function is in our own lives. We receive information and we transmit information. And as we do that, we then store that in our left brain thinking. And then the right brain is where we actually assimilate it and distill it into our own personal truth, which is Jupiter. So this is very much about the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain. So just some information for you to contemplate, because Mercury is at the south node of Jupiter in Capricorn, and the sun is in Capricorn at the moment. It's at about 20 degrees of Capricorn. So it's coming up to Pluto. Pluto is around 27. Let me see where it is for you. But Pluto is going to make a conjunction to, the sun will make a conjunction to Pluto here really soon. So we're leading up to that. And so the sun's at 20 degrees and Pluto is at 27 degrees. So in pretty soon here, we're going to have that sun conjunct Pluto. However, until then, we have this Mercury at the south node of Jupiter in Capricorn. And we know Capricorn is really about our internal structure of consciousness. It's a yin sign. It's the last earth sign of the zodiac. And so this is how we've structured our consciousness as we've psychologically developed from Aries to Capricorn. Having experiences that inform us that we then, through connecting with people, which is Mercury, connecting with information, we form beliefs, which is this Jupiter Sagittarian piece, and that really informs how we structure our consciousness on an internal level. And so this is Capricorn, right? Now, being that Mercury's at the south node of Jupiter, I think that this could really be having us look at our own beliefs around Capricorn consciousness and, how our beliefs have informed us collectively in how we really transmit information, how we receive and perceive information as well. So this is a really important piece because Mars is in Gemini. Mars has been in Gemini for quite a while. It's been retrograde for quite a while, and it's going to station direct on January 12th. And so it is an important piece that we're likely assessing internally through this Mercury retrograde, because Mercury retrograde always has this cue in our experience. It kind of cues us to go into this more receptive mode, this more right brain thinking mode in regards to communication. And so it's the intuitive function of Mercury when it's retrograde. So it has us relax into information and relax and allow the information to settle and allow intuitive insights to come through, because we do have to relax so that we can allow that right brain function to kick in, right? So Mars being retrograde, it's the same thing. Mars is our action. It's how we take action on behalf of our own needs and desires. And so, as well as, I want to say, evolution, because Mars does act on behalf of the unconscious mind, which is Pluto and Scorpio. And so Mars, as it's been retrograde, we've been likely feeling more internal in regards to taking action, right? We may have been making plans, we may have been reconsidering information, we may have been, really not necessarily initiating new things, but really looking at what we've initiated and what we'd like to initiate, right? What we'd like to take action on. And so, being that Gemini is ruled or guided by Mercury, what Mercury is doing right now is really important. And because it's on the south node of Jupiter in Capricorn, squaring Chiron in Aries, Chiron in Aries is ruled by Mars. And so this is really, Chiron in Aries is really about how it is that we're taking action on our own personal and current identity. And so therefore our personal and current needs and desires. Mars, as I said, rules Aries. And so this is how we initiate new things in our lives, initiate new evolutionary momentum based on new desires that have bubbled up from the unconscious, which is that Pluto component that Mars acts on behalf, right? Mars acts with instinct. It doesn't think before it acts. Typically, it just acts on the environment it finds itself in from this unconscious Plutonian default settings, which is a fixed energy. So once we take action with our Mars, we do that, we take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, we assess what was the result of our actions, then we take 2 steps forward again. And this is how we actually really fine-tune what we're acting on and how we desire to move towards that which we desire and the evolutionary momentum that we really desire to cultivate. And it can show us where it is where we may be out of alignment with our own evolution, or where it is that we'd like to really look at what is these default settings that are fixed energies that how we've learned to take care of ourselves or take care of our needs or move toward that which we desire. And is that really working for us now? I mean, maybe it worked for us at one time, but is that really current? And this is what's interesting, is that the south node of the moon is in Scorpio right now. And so this is about making changes to our instinctual nature and acting on behalf of our own evolution, as well as our own power and empowerment versus disempowerment. And so it is looking at our relationship to our own power, as well as others, and how they're taking initiative on their power, right? On their evolutionary momentum as well. And so the fact that Mercury is square Chiron in Aries, this can really be having us notice communications, whether it's communications coming from us or perceptions coming from us, information we're seeing, receiving, or information that we're communicating, how we're being communicated to, where we can be looking at, is this really a healthy and healing communication that's actually promoting peace? Because Aries and Mars is really about acting on behalf of the peaceful warrior, as it's called in evolutionary astrology, right? And we know that every archetypal energy has a flip side. So this means, and this is why, Mars and Aries can also be associated with war. Because when we're taking action on behalf of our own power and will, right, in a way that is unhealthy for the needs of the environment, so the needs of those around us as well, right, then this is where our Libra component, our Libra consciousness can get out of balance. And we know Libra is all about balance. So our own needs and the needs of the environment, really, this is where it can create this warlike energy when they're out of balance, because this is where people can be acting on behalf of their own power in an unhealthy way, and vice versa, right? So Chiron and Aries is where, are we taking actions with our Mars energy that is actually in alignment with our true and authentic identity? Aries and Libra, Cancer and Capricorn is all about our authenticity and our integrity that is actually held from within. It's cultivated within, right? And so Chiron and Aries is, are we acting on behalf of our own current needs, our own current desires, and our own authenticity, our personal authority, and our own desires? And are we acting on those things, in those components of our lives, in a way that is healing, healthy for ourselves, for others? Or are we acting in a way that is creating a wound to our own identity, or wounds to the identity of others? So with Mercury retrograde squaring Chiron and Aries, we can be looking at, how are we communicating? How are we perceiving? And let's rewind that. How are we perceiving, and how are we communicating? How are we acting on behalf of our own needs? How are we utilizing our Mars energy to actually create healing of our own identity, our own thoughts, perceptions, ideas, communications, with this Mars and Gemini stationing direct? Because Mercury retrograde square Chiron is January 10th through January 12th, and then January 12th, Mars stations direct at 8 degrees in Gemini. And so this is very potent, because whenever a planet is beginning to change direction, it's a very poignant time to be looking at what's happening. And there will most often be other transits of other planets that are making contacts to assist with that particular change in direction, so that we can utilize and harness the energy and the consciousness that's going to actually assist us in really up-leveling to the next level of our own consciousness, and acting on behalf of our own structure of consciousness and what we're building in the world, particularly with Mars, right? So also what's interesting is, in this time frame, we have Venus in Aquarius at 9 degrees squaring the nodes. And whenever a planet is square the nodes, this is also a very pressurized energy. It's a potent time. And so how we act on behalf of that square is really important. And Venus in Aquarius square the nodes. Venus is the ruler, planetary guide to the North Node in Taurus. However, whenever a planet is square the nodes, there's always what's called a resolution node. So this is really the node that actually assists us and cues us is, how do we resolve this pressure? How is it that we integrate both of these nodes, which is a polarization in our consciousness? It's about fusing the two nodes together rather than separating them. And so whenever we have a planet square the nodes, it's really this pressure to actually fuse these particular aspects of consciousness in a way that is very balanced, right? We can often have this happen in relationship to something, whether it's a person, place, or thing in the outside world, because the opposition is always a Libran component. So this is about our relationship to something in the outside world. And this is how it will come up. And yet, the nodes of the moon, this is an internal dimension. It's how we're actually integrating internally these archetypal consciousness of Taurus and Scorpio in this case. So Venus, being the ruler of the North Node, squaring the nodes, and the resolution node, resolving the pressure, is this Scorpio component. So Scorpio is ruled by Mars, so this is very important. Again, around how we're taking action on behalf of our own empowerment and the needs of others, and honoring the power of others as well, and the value of others as well, because power and value go hand in hand. They work together, because Venus and Taurus is about self-love, self-value, self-trust, and personal value and values, our own personal resources that comes from our own internal dimension, our own heart chakra, Venus, right? And Scorpio is how we share that with others, how we share our own resource with others and resources with others. So the resolution with Scorpio is, how are we acting on behalf of our own self-value, self-love, self-trust, and resources? And then how are we actually taking care of others sharing their resources with us? So are we really taking actions in ways that is really fine-tuned toward understanding the needs of others and their value and values and the resources they share with us? And are we honoring that, right? And vice versa. Are we being valued? Are we being honored? Are we being really taken care of in regards to what it is that we're sharing with others, that comes from our own heart chakra and our own sharing of our own love nature and what we've cultivated as resources in our own lives? Interesting also is that as this all begins on January 10th, the moon ingresses into Virgo, and the moon is at 0 Virgo. So within the next 2 days, the moon spends about 2.5 days in a sign. So throughout this, the moon's in Virgo. And so this is really potent, because this is really helping us to internally sense with the moon, with our feelings in emotional nature, discernment, this discerning piece. This Mercury ruled sign Virgo is about discernment. And so we can sense this very sensitive sign with Virgo being ruled by Mercury. We can sense with the nervous system. And this is why Virgo can be associated with anxiety. So if you find yourself experiencing nervousness or anxiety, having trouble sleeping, things like that, this is an indicator that there's something that is really, you're desiring to digest in consciousness, you're desiring to really sort out within your own consciousness regarding these nodes of the moon and this Taurus Scorpio piece, the Venus square the nodes, Mars stationing, the ruler of the South Node, stationing direct on January 12th. Really assessing this discernment piece on how it is that you're perceiving information, how it is that you're communicating information, and how this is really a contribution to the collective, because Virgo always also integrates the Piscean consciousness. The Pisces is the opposite side of the wheel of consciousness with Virgo. So, and know that, you know, Pisces is also ruled by Jupiter. Mercury is on the south node of Jupiter. So you can connect the dots here. And, you know, Gemini and Aquarius, being air signs, they're both about connecting the dots, really being able to assimilate all this information and see how it all connects. So energetically, all of these planets are really giving us cues. They're working together. They're helping us to connect the dots in our own lives so that we can actually integrate this nodal axis of consciousness in an updated way. Now, interesting too, Mercury, where Mercury is right now, is also in an exact trine to this midpoint between where the North Node is in Taurus and where Uranus is in Taurus. And Mercury and Uranus have a very special relationship because Mercury is the nervous system, Uranus is the brain, and also associated with the nervous system. They work together. And so this can really having us have these insights and aha moments, could have even been insights, aha moments of things that we've experienced and dimensions of consciousness we've experienced in the past that relate to what we're experiencing now, that maybe have been wounds or have experienced as wounds, but that we can actually heal through these energies right now. And so it's a very potent next 2 days, which is why I really wanted to do a video for you so that you can utilize this in harnessing the empowerment that can come and the healing that can come with these energies right now. So I hope this is helpful. If you find it helpful, please do like the video so it gets distributed. And also, you know, feel free to share the video if you think that others that you know may receive something valuable to them. So do feel free to share the video, and by sharing it, of course, it gets distributed. And also, you're welcome to subscribe to my channel if you feel inclined, and I'll keep coming on here for new videos. And so keep on the lookout, and thanks for joining me. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you on the next video.